Ladies and gentlemen, the newest episode of Helluva Boss was really good. It was really good. Now, he's calling it an almost perfect episode, and this is coming from Sarcastic Horse, the #1 Helluva Boss hater of all time. I think the new Helluva Boss episode was really good. I would say that it's top 3 in the whole series. I don't think it was the best, but I do think it was top 3. I do think it was great. We are jumping right into an almost perfect episode.
Okay, this episode was fire.
You ruined my life!
I got what he did there, fire, because fire red...
Sorry, I just couldn't resist.
Damn.
Alright gang, it's been a hot second, but Helluva Boss is finally back and giving us that long overdue meeting of Fizz and Blitz. With some shipping reveals that yours truly called way back, and a nice emoji.
Really? Was that not obvious in the episode? Like, dude, I don't wanna rain on your parade. I would love for you to have called that. Yo, it showed the thing of him looking at this picture with his mom at the end of this episode in season 1? Ain't no way! Right? This scene over here where they're like looking at each other all cute like,
'Cause I love you.
and they're like, oh, you little booty. Okay, that's pretty obvious. A really good nod to this episode, but like a really obvious scene.
Emotional resolution for Blitz's past that nearly made me cry.
Dude,
Yet somehow
that was so good. This is how you tackle your demons. This is how you overcome a traumatic experience that you shared with someone.
brain still found a way to nitpick. This episode was truly
You still found a way to nitpick. Just appreciate this stuff. No, I'm joking. I believe in nitpicking all sorts of shit.
solid. It's the most comfortable with itself that Helluva Boss has felt in this entire season. And while I may have my gripes about it not fully living up to its potential and kind of rushing the whole Blitz and Fizz situation,
Well, I mean, what were they supposed to do? It was already a 27-minute episode. Were they supposed to make it like an hour long?
Ozzy and Fizz are cute as fuck, and they make up
That's
for
just
almost
true.
all of it. So let's break down this episode in a
Well, they make up for a lot of it, but I think that it's the whole Blitz and Fizz relationship that was just so good.
another wonderful edition of us discussing Helluva Boss.
Yep!
You're pretty good at squeezing things in.
So, full disclosure, this episode was basically tailor-made for me to love it. I am biased as hell, as this episode reveals that Ozzy and Fizz really are Stolitz, but better, having
Damn. More like they're Stolitz, but with less mental health issues.
the same aesthetic as Blitz and Stolitz, of an imp dating a horny rich bird guy, but they have none of the emotional baggage that makes Stolitz such a shit show.
Yeah.
Not to mention the episode pretty much took all my headcanon/analysis videos I've done, and pretty much say all of it as Blitz and Fizz discuss the dysfunctional shit that we have been gushing over for this entire time.
True. See, in my opinion, the beauty of this episode is both Blitz and Fizz have their emotional trauma and baggage in different ways and in different areas, so therefore, their relationship is toxic in different ways. See, Blitz is someone that, he can't trust anyone. He feels like he's been backstabbed by everyone his entire life, and because of that, he doesn't trust Stolas, right? Whereas Fizz is someone, not that he didn't trust anyone, the issue is that he couldn't tell anyone. And he didn't tell freaking people about his relationship, and he's keeping it bottled up inside, and if he reveals it, everyone will freak out, because is that like a demon lord dating an imp kind of thing? So, is he such a hypocrite that he's dating an imp? That whole stuff. And he's bottling it all in forever. So, here you have a guy like Fizz who can't tell Blitz what's been bothering him for the last 15 years. It's like the actual theming and character dynamic is actually really good.
And there's just a level of gratification there of being right that I cannot describe. But even with all that said, I do think this episode could have been better in some ways. But before I get petty, let's break down what I liked.
Again with the whole
Oh, the heart nipples. That's what I like.
Starting with the obvious, as we get a glimpse at Fizz and Ozzy's morning routine, with the two of them getting toxically cute together. With Fizz working as Ozzy's lover and personal assistant, these two are just getting each other ready for the day, as while Fizz makes a schedule, Oz plans to make them breakfast, as the only thing more burnt than Fizz's body
Hey, is that a cream pie?
was his cooking.
try to stay out of trouble, Fizzy Frog.
Stop it!
I really do enjoy watching these two just be like an actual loving couple. It's
Yeah, instead of needing to posture for the public like they did in their episode, when they're in private, they're allowed to just freaking go crazy.
to see what Stolz and Blitz could be if they just, I don't know, communicated for once in their life.
Well, I think it's more than communicated. I think the major difference in the relationships between Fizz and what's his face is Stolas himself, he was married. He was cheating on his wife with Blitz, which is, it's I guess his wife was a bitch, so it's whatever, but still not cool, I guess. God damn it, I can't believe Stolas is still my favorite character. But like, that's where this all stems from. Stolas also can't be willing to admit any of this. Stolas too, he's also suffering. He's scared to admit his feelings, and Blitz doesn't trust him. And unless he hears it straight up, Blitz just will not believe it. It's so toxic. Whereas Asmodeus over here, the demon lord of lust, is the most honest guy in the world somehow. This guy over here, this man is so healthy. This man has the heart nipples that I wish to emulate one day.
Ozzy and Fizz know what they want. They tell each other
Dude, I've looked at the Asmodeus hentai, and goddamn.
that, and they are all the better for it. Even though they do have to fail at keeping this on the DL, as a sin of lust being in a romantic, healthy relationship would be antithetical to his brand. Especially after all the shit he gave Moxie about singing a sincere love song at his club.
We got a saying that's popular in these pods.
Still my favorite song in the whole show. I love this episode.
Only little bitches strum the strings of their hearts.
Just come right back over and keep your phone on you, okay?
Like, they said a lot of shit, and they are
so-
both fat hypocrites for it.
Yes, they are. And you know what? Fuck them. That's my mentality. If you want to be a hypocrite, you could be. Being a hypocrite isn't nearly as bad as you make it out to be.
They're into each other for more than just booty. They are fussing over each other constantly, proving how this extends just far beyond lust into genuine romantic feelings.
Cringe.
But all good things must come to an end, and
Cringe.
Fizz goes off to Greed to get some cash and a rehearsal for a concert. This worries Ozzy for kind of legitimate reason.
Well, yeah, the guy literally gets kidnapped, so.
But on the wrong side of the tracks, Fizz runs into his former best friend and everything goes downhill from there, as they aren't the only baddies in the neighborhood.
Yo, this is just like an actual collection event. The fact that they gathered the whole squad here. They got Crimson and Striker and everyone. They gathered the whole A-team. This was an Avengers Assemble of crazy characters.
Hired.
Now this might annoy some people, but I actually kind of like having Striker and Crim in this episode.
I agree. If there would just be generic mob boss number 4, it just would not be as cool as the mob boss that we know and love so much.
Primarily because it finally puts the two of them at the level I think they were always meant to be at. As
Yeah, Crim was never supposed to be some sort of crazy overlord. And Striker botched every job he had for the entire show.
if you can fault Helluva Boss with anything, and there are faults, is that it does too good of a job at introducing its villains. All of these guys always feel like they are set to be these big threats that Imp has to contend with eventually. They aren't just
Really? I feel like Crim got his ass handed to him in his episode. I always felt like they were supposed to be one-off characters that served to flesh out the world a little bit. These big villains, you know what a big villain was gonna be? It was gonna be like the humans or whatever that got footage of all of the demon activity and stuff. Like in the third last episode of the first season. That I thought was actually valid, you know? That was gonna be some sort of super threat later in the show. This never struck me as a super threat. Crim was just some mob boss, and he was only a real threat because he was Moxie's dad. That's the only reason why he was actually so threatening.
some villains of the week, but actual menaces who can threaten our heroes emotionally as well as physically. From Crim being Moxie's father and the killer of his mother,
Yeah, he's an asshole. He's definitely a source of emotional stress. But is he like a big bad? Is he like really a super villain?
the Striker being this dark reflection of Blitz and all that he could have been if he gave in to his resentment. The show is really good at hyping us up for these guys to eventually come back, to bring the tension and to set the show apart from its usual gag self, which causes problems when they
Oh, gag me harder, self.
come back and they're kind of just not nearly as hype as they were originally.
I think it's valid. I don't know. Call me cringe. I think it's fine.
But having Crim and Striker here kind of just solidifies their role in the story to me as being members of a larger villain cast rather than being one of the bigger antagonists that everyone has to take a little bit more serious.
I'm with you. They all definitely show a deeper side of all the different characters, right? Like Striker shows you like another perspective of Blitz, for example. But I really agree with this take here. I'm fully on board with your conception.
Seriously. They're dangerous, they're the bad guys, but they're not that big nemesis that these guys really have to worry
Absolutely.
about. They're not going to automatically
Absolutely.
make the whole scene darker for just being there, despite how much emphasis their initial episodes give them. They are much closer to being the villains of the week than the final boss. So them just being
100%.
here
So true. So true.
And causing trouble really does solidify to the audience what we can expect from them, that they can just be an antagonist of an episode not directly tied to Imp in the business, which helps set audience expectations and so that we don't expect too much. And I also do think that Stryker kind of needs to be here, as without him, we just have Crimson's goons, who will die in the thousands before we ever start to feel any actual threat.
I guess so, and also I like that Stryker is kind of really fucking up.
So Stryker being here explains why Fizz and Blitz were captured in the first place, gives us just that little hint of danger about why Blitz can't just kill everybody, as he actually has to work to beat this guy. With Stryker being able to bring the menace just a little bit, when his resentment leads him to try and off Fizz as some petty revenge against Blitz constantly getting in his way.
But I like that. Man is literally going through his Joker arc. I feel like that's really good writing, if anything. They didn't just take a villain, have him lose a couple of times, and maintain the same cool. No! They have a villain, they made him lose a couple of times, and bro is getting humiliated. And he's going through his Joker arc. He does not like this. He does not like the fact that he's taken so many L's.
Is it bad that I'm getting hard?
Shut the fuck up! Why is it always a sex thing?
And he also works as just giving this third perspective to Blitz and Fizz's relationship, as these two are both
Yeah, I was a little on the nose. That was a little bit on the nose when he's like, listen, I will not tell you about my inner feelings. Well, I can't reveal these things because I hate myself. And he's like, the royal class just hates us and they suck. And oh, okay.
checking out with the upper class.
But at least Loudmouth here has the sense to only fuck his rich bitch, instead of being a little purse dog.
The man
He just like me for real.
is a hater. They all run a spectrum of what they think of the nobility and how most of what the other guys are saying are kind of bullshit, with Fizz representing how a healthy, normal relationship can form between an imp.
Sort of. I don't agree. That was not my take here. I saw a lot of people talking about this specifically, that Fizz was showing how a normal relationship would work. Blitz was showing how a toxic one works, and I don't think so. While I do think, obviously, Fizz's relationship is healthier, I do think it's still toxic in its own way. His relationship is toxic because they can't tell the world. This is like living in a world where this guy can't actually pronounce his love publicly. And you know, like the whole holding hands in public type thing, which is like a little thing, but it's like a pronouncing of love that he can never do. Obviously not as messed up as Blitz, because you see, the reason why his relationship is toxic is because he can't reveal it to the public. However, the reason why Blitz isn't in a relationship at all is because Blitz has a self-loathing, and it'll show that hating yourself is so much worse than not willing to express yourself. It's two levels of self-esteem issues, I guess, but it's not, you know, Queen Bee and the dog guy that Bao would have sex with if it was whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
And an upper demon. And again, I love the whole conversation between Fizz and Blitz about where they are romantically. As the two of them are trading barbs, they're trying to talk shit. But through it all, Blitz fully vocalized what we've kind of figured out this whole
Dude, I love Blitz so much.
time, that he doesn't believe that Stolas loves him, and how despite all evidence to the contrary, he thinks that Stolas is only into him for the thrill of getting dicked down by the lower class.
Yeah, because he will keep lying to himself. He will forever lie to himself. That's why Blitz is so toxic.
A misunderstanding that Stolas
Whereas Fizz isn't lying to himself. He just has to lie to everyone else.
fed into unintentionally with his actions, but even for someone who has seen as little of them as Fizz, he's able to figure out that this isn't just some act Stolas is putting on. But Blitz, being so filled with self-hatred, he refuses to just have hope that they could be more. As Fizz sarcastically jokes that Stolas laughing at his jokes is proof that they must be an act, only for Blitz to take that statement at face value as it feeds into the narrative of failure he's already built into his head.
Laugh at my jokes.
Oh, well, that's definitely your clue right there that it's all bullshit.
I know, right?
Fizz can see it, Blitz refuses to let himself believe it.
That's right. That's the toxic part of it. Man just isn't willing to admit it to himself.
Throughout the episode though, I really come to love Fizz as a character. It's really funny to watch him freak out in the middle of a fight.
Yeah, I love how he, like, you know, because he always postures so hard. He makes himself the really cool, epic, badass guy forever. But when it comes to putting your balls against the grate, it just don't work that way. He can do nothing in a fight.
Entertainer, he's actually a bit of a coward with no idea how to fight. In contrast to the Terminator robot version of himself that gave Blitz a run for his money, Fizz is kind of a house cat to Blitz's mangy stray. Fizz is unprepared to deal with any of these situations, while for Blitz, it's as natural as breathing.
Dude, this whole episode was just so fire. You get to see how these two people who started off at the same exact point, right? These two guys that were in the entertainment industry literally started from the same area, but because of slightly different events that transpired in their life and different decisions that they've made and different relationships that they've gained, they ended up so wildly different. I find that just so interesting. The circumstances of what they've done, and also it ties in so well with the backstory. The whole concept of the backstory of how Blitz really screwed everything up by accidentally lighting Fizz Rolly's bar mitzvah on fire. That whole scene, that was Fizz not willing to trust other people. And that was Blitz feeling that he is constantly sabotaging himself. And they've both carried that same concept throughout their entire character arcs. Just so good! Just such good writing!
Man lives for conflict. This creates a fun dynamic where we get to see the two highlight their strengths and making Fizz way more interesting than just being another badass dark reflection of Blitz that's
honestly true. That would have been such a L move, and I could have so seen them doing that.
Striker is.
This usually works.
This episode is filled with tons of fun violence, especially when the
Fun violence! Fun violence! Unfortunately, no children were hurt in the making of this episode, and it made me a little down, but like aside from that, it was pretty good.
two of them start working together as they leverage Blitz's killing skills with Fizz's mobility, showing off how grave a pair the two of them could have been if life hadn't gotten in the way. The comedy for this episode also pretty much on point for most of it.
Yeah, it was really
the
funny.
denial of Fizzy, the smash cut to Fizz not keeping a low profile, the genuine sass is all just perfect.
Oh, don't you dare talk sexy to me.
Yeah! I love when he does that. I love when he does that.
You're still on the horse thing?
There are some moments where I think they could have spent a little bit less time on a joke. The kaiju cockpit could have been cut in half, and
No! The joke was the length, bro. Get it? Wow, I am hilarious. I am actually hilarious.
would have been just as funny. And also,
I disagree. I think it needed to be that long. That was the beauty of it.
a bit. But Fizz's song, I can't lie, I was thinking that they could wrap this shit up sooner too.
Yeah, I felt like the song was a little long also, but you ain't gonna see me complaining. It was a great episode. And also, you realize you're only complaining about a minute.
Ew. On its own though, this episode was mostly able to avoid the worst of the pacing and tonal issues that have been plaguing this season. The tone feels way more consistent, as rather than having like genuine danger, oh we need to be worried, this is just having fun. It just needs to have tension. It's never begging us to take what's going on super seriously, like Stolas nearly getting murdered.
Yeah, that was a little, yeah. It was tense. It wasn't too tense. I think the tension came from the actual personalities of them clashing even more than the, mafia trying to murder them.
Instead, it's able to get away with the jokes and cutaway gags, so the bird boys are arguing over a contract. As while the situation in shootout is tense, the real
Dude, I love that whole thing with Stolas and the lawyers. And he just gets so excited by a mountain of papers he has to read. I love books. And freaking he was just like, oh God, stop, please. I just want to go save my guy.
drama and focus is all on Fizz and Blitz's relationship, what happened to them, and them making amends. Which is where my nitpicky ass brain starts to kick in. As I like these scenes, but something feels a little off to me.
Is he gonna say it's too fast? Say they just made up too fast? Because I did feel the same way, even though I'm realizing that they couldn't stretch this episode any longer.
So let me explain.
Would it fuck up the moment if we made out right now?
Oh no.
For as much as that hug made me almost cry, I couldn't shake this nagging bug at the back of my head whispering that this could have been better.
I think this would have benefited as a 35-minute episode, but that's so much extra time and animation. I like the way they did it. I thought they did fine. I also agree it was a little fast, and I like that scene at the end because it just goes to show how different their concept of the sanctity of a relationship is.
You see, in spite of the script being solid, Rogers and Brightman absolutely destroying it in their roles.
Bro, actual god-tier voice acting.
I did care! It was an accident! It was!
These line reads were just so good. I do
Yeah.
feel like there's something weird to how this episode is structured and how the conflict is resolved. And that comes from a few different angles. First being, it does feel a little bit too soon for them to be bearing the hatchet like this.
Yeah, I knew that he was gonna say that. I agree, it did seem fast, but you have to realize these were people that haven't spoken since the incident, right? The incident happens and they literally didn't say anything.
The conflict between Fizz and Blitz are something that the story has been hinting at since episode 2, where Blitz ignores protecting Stolas to get into a fight with a robotic version of Fizz, hinting at his past and all of his failures, which triggers a fight that destroys all of Lululand.
Worth it! Worth it!
This is the show telling us just what a big deal Fizz is to Blitz. There's some great drama and mystery tying into Blitz's past. Fizz is tied to his past at the circus, his failure as a performer, and as we would later find out, Fizz even reflects Blitz's relationship to Stolas, as Fizz is also dating a royal. The show built up a ton of parallels between the two, with it promising to give us something juicy later down the road. In spite of all that promise, Fizz and Blitz only actually interact a grand total of 2 times.
But that's the point. The point is, it was 15 years! It's like, if they would have actually, freaking manned up and talked about it like adults, earlier, this could have solved the entire issue. The reason why it didn't was because this was 15 years ago.
Times in the entire series, and then their conflict is just resolved. But if we're being honest, that's kind of a lie, as they really only interact in this episode.
Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. This was nodded to in the past. This was definitely mentioned before, but they didn't talk for 15 years. How are they supposed to make peace? They were literally put in a cage together. That was the only way they were gonna interact at all.
Twice is already way too much.
The scene at Ozzy was super brief, with Fizz talking shit to Blitz's face before setting up Verosika to go for the throat. Everything else besides that
God, I wish she would go for my throat.
was either the robot, a hallucination, or a flashback. The two don't get to meaningfully interact till it's pretty much time to clear everything up.
Exactly. They do not interact until they are literally locked in a cage together. I think that's appropriate. That's how you do it.
And I kind of feel like we're trading an interesting dynamic for immediate gratification.
But I think that's part of it. So many relationships are and like terrible interactions between people are completely made and built on misunderstandings. And instead of people actually, putting their ass out there to talk about this issue or these issues that are between them, they are not willing to put their ass out there. They want to keep their ass inside, which is always cringe because asses out are so much better. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make here, aside from the whole asses not being out of it all, it goes to show how many issues can be resolved by just talking. And so many people would rather just avoid talking at all costs and would rather just wallow in your self-loathing and your hatred. Sometimes you just gotta put your ass out there and bring up the shit and work it out.
I'm not saying that they tease this out over a long period of time. It feels like they just could have really dug into these two and what's going on in their past. How they're former friends who end up being just in radically different places in their lives. Fizz
That's radical! Schmauzow!
doesn't have to be a
Adventure Time is ruining my brain, thank you.
villain, but he could be more of a recurring antagonist that Blitz has to deal with. Instead, they just kind of meet and we jump straight to the field.
I agree though. I think that's fine. I think showing how toxic their relationship actually was, even though it was based on a massive misunderstanding, is so valid. And they never wanted to meet up and talk about their feelings and play all pussy wussy. That's not what they wanted to be doing.
Which isn't bad. I really do love the scene. It just feels a little bit too quick and easy for how much they built up these two over the course of the series. The idea of what happened between them has been hanging over us for a while, and while the episode is solid, me being the greedy drama whore that I am feels like the show might be resolved.
That's how you preface an argument, ladies and gentlemen. You just call yourself a needy drama whore, and how's anyone gonna argue with you?
Solving this just a little too quickly when there's just so much more to explore and tease at. They didn't have to rectify everything. Fizz
Rectify what?
didn't need to be some massive
Bro, they rectified a lot of shit this episode. I saw the dildo factory.
villain, but it feels just a little bit too easy that they just meet and everything ends up being solved again.
Bro, meat? Man does not stop the sexy talk for 4 seconds this entire video. My God.
It's revealed that Blitz did cause the explosion that made Fizz, but it was an accident born of shame and not an act of malice and jealousy.
Well, it was also an accident. It wasn't just shame. It was also like a legitimate accident.
The reveal that the real sticking point for Fizz was how he believed that Blitz abandoned him after causing the accident and never visited him when he was recovering. Only for all this to be revealed that it was all a big misunderstanding.
That's it, baby. And sometimes you just gotta put your ass on the line and talk about it.
Which they just accept, rendering 15 years of resentment to be rendered toothless.
But isn't that just like relationships in a nutshell? Isn't that how relationships work?
And I feel like this one scene, the reveals, is my biggest issue, as it's literally back-to-back reveals of what Fizz thought happened, what really happened, and then they figured out that them thinking that the other abandoned them was all a misunderstanding, as someone told Blitz that Fizz didn't want to see him, while Fizz was told Blitz never showed up. All of this shit happens, and I shit you not, 90 seconds.
Yeah, I would have appreciated if it was spaced out a little more. I feel like that would have been better. Like, I agree with the talking sarcastic man, okay? I agree with him. He might be Helluva Boss's biggest hater alive, but I agree with this little take. If they would have spaced it a little more, that would have probably been nice. However, it was still pretty great.
15 years of resentment, 2 years of buildup, and they realize that this is all just a big misunderstanding and an accident, which is just a little quick and easy for me. After all this implied resentment, all this implied issues that we've seen, how they just refuse to see each other, they kind of just meet and it gets dealt with. They hate each other, keep sharing barbs, all the reveals happen, and then they're suddenly, oh, maybe we're kind of cool. And part of me thinks in my non-writer brain is that maybe there shouldn't have been 2 moments where they reconciled. As we have the mid-fight flashbacks, then we also have Blitz saving Fizz from the fire.
Yeah, I thought that was cute though. The saving him from the fire was really cute. I thought that was adorable. What do you say, man? That was nice.
Great fucking moments. The hug was freaking great. I feel like maybe instead of doing everything in that middle fight, maybe they should have just revealed Fizz's perspective, to have Blitz try and fail to tell him what's going on, but for Fizz to be too resentful to let him finish, but have them start working together to survive, and we start feeling them.
Bro is such a fanfic writer, it's hilarious.
Get closer together again. Then you can have the reveal of what actually happened during the hug, and that they realize that everything that's happened was a miscommunication. So rather than having a rapid series of reveals in a second reconciliation, you can instead maximize the impact of having an already great moment and just doubling it up rather than splitting focus with 2 different scenes.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. I don't know. I feel like it would have been nice. I agreed with his previous idea of spacing it out. They would have spaced it out through the fights and jumping around and all the explosions. I'm with all that. I think that's a good take. All in all, I don't think that this is wrong, ? I think that this is fine, honestly. I guess the #1 Helluva Boss hater sarcastic chorus is at it again. Okay, people are gonna believe I'm serious. This was honestly a joke. He obviously loves the show. I'm just saying he obviously loves the show. I was just making a joke, guys. I'm just making a joke. I don't want you to don't send him hate or anything. He obviously, I literally made this joke to him in private and okay.
I really still like the moments on their own. Again, everyone here is killing it with their performances. This is probably the best Helluva Boss episode this season.
I would agree. Best episode this season.
I just think that there are some slight tweaks that they might have been able to make the story slap just a little bit harder. Also, something that I do question, the episode implies that the fire Blitz
Yeah, I saw that. It implies it killed his mom.
Or it may have also killed his mom.
Which is a lot more traumatic than freaking anything else.
Or ruined his relationship with his family.
You have no idea what I lost in that fire.
Which... Fizz grew up with Blitz. He lived at the circus. I feel like he should know if Blitz's mom was there and also died that day.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I didn't really know that was implying. I figured it's just gonna be some reveal a little later down the line.
Making the whole line feel like it's more of Blitz just being vague for the audience's sake than Fizz's. Also, yes, this is the story of how Blitz got that scar on his face. With the hellfire explosion,
You know how I got this scar?
being spectacular and the visual of Fizz's charred body being haunting. I especially love how they always cut the explosion with their eyes to convey just this was the last thing they saw before they got hit by the explosion, which...
Yeah, oh, that's good writing, good animation. I liked all that.
And just to make this clear, apparently fire on Earth doesn't affect demons. But this fire being green makes it something else entirely.
Yeah.
And it is possible to burn imps.
Yeah.
Also, in a fucked up sort of way, Blitz beat Robot Fizz in the same way he cooked the original. But
oh my god, that's crazy. I didn't notice that.
for all the gripes I have about how the show structured the Fizz and Blitz resolution, I do think though that seeing Blitz and Fizz work together and talk about how they've moved past the accident, I think that was really good. For all the absolute body horror that happened to Fizz, he's emotionally mature enough to recognize that he won at life. He's a superstar, he's rich, with a partner that loves and cherishes him. Sure, the explosion that Blitz accidentally caused was
That's honestly true. It's like, you didn't ruin my life. Yeah, when he said that, I was like, damn, true. Man is literally winning. Man is sitting there every day just winning.
life-altering, but Fizz was still able to pick up the pieces of his life afterwards, which is a smart way to decompress tension the two have been imagining was between them, while also hinting to Blitz what he could have if he just finally talked to Stolas about what he wants in their relationship. Also, I can't not talk about it. Ozzy is...
So jealous!
Sin of Lust and...
True. His cock is just... Bro, it's just so big. It's It's girthy, it's veiny, it's everything you want in a good cock.
Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. I was a little bit disappointed when we didn't see Oz go absolutely apeshit when Krim tried to threaten Fizz's life.
Yeah, but also, what was he supposed to do? He didn't even know where he was.
But him being paired up with Stolas was comedy gold. We'll also keep
It was hilarious. And he's just like, ooh, more papers to read. I freaking love him.
keeping Oz from fixing all the story's problems. Also, yeah, I think we can officially drop Crimson's intelligence score by a lot of points. As it's one thing for Chaz to roll a nat 20 and convince Krim he's rich, but for Krim to blackmail the king of lust,
No, I thought that was just really ballsy.
one of the 7 deadly sins.
But it would have worked. If not for Stolas, it literally would have worked. The lawyer guy gave him the contract to sign, and he was about to sign it, and then it was a fake contract. Man was about to take over his entire realm. Brother, he was about to dethrone Jeff Bezos from Amazon right there.
And to show his fucking face in a video call, this man might be a cold-blooded shark, but he's not as sharp as he thinks he is, which is kind of fitting for a mob boss who's too dumb and poor to get into white-collar crime. Overall, I really liked this episode, and I loved everything that it brought to the table. More than just
Agreed.
appealing to my personal
It was great.
biases,
It was
I think
great.
this
Also, Asmodeus is so freaking cool. Dude, look at his design. Whoever came up with this design is an actual legend.
episode of Helluva Boss is it at its most comfortable. Sure, there are some areas where I think it could have been improved. I feel like Fizz could have been given a bigger arc here than just forgiving Blitz for what happened. But overall, what it did well, it did really well.
It
even if I
did.
do have some nitpicks about how it could have been done better. But after a season filled with great ideas and good moments, but some execution, this has been the episode that feels like the most complete version of itself. Having jokes, petty nonsense, villains, and furries, with the heart of the story
Bro really had to throw that in there.
resting on the unresolved trauma that ruins us when we don't talk about it. This episode revels in everything that Helluva Boss loves to do, and I personally just can't help but love watching it work. Thank you all for watching. This has been Sarcastic Horse.
You're welcome.
Stay tuned and subscribe to be kept up to date on all the metric shit ton of shipping videos I'm gonna make out of this one.
Oh my god, let's go! Let's go! Man saw furries and saw dollar signs. That's what I say. All in all, great episode. Good review. I appreciated your comments, even though I didn't agree with necessarily every single one of them. I did think that they were good. And I really liked this episode. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch. Stay weird, fam!